Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm Mike B, and today I'm going to be answering a question that I actually get a lot on live streams and in World War I video comments a lot. And I'm just going to set the record straight. I mentioned it before on a live stream, but anyway, it's going to be a nice little talking video and I'll explain myself and whatever. So the question I always get is, if you had to choose any main rifle in the First World War, if you had to go back and fight, like the hypothetical never going to happen, but in a weird world where that's possible, which rifle would you choose and why? Now, there's a lot of good rifles that were used in World War I, especially for that time period. Some were becoming outdated, but were still relevant. Others were very state-of-the-art and very well-designed and effective. I don't think any of them were horrible. I mean, the main ones, like you got the Canadian Ross, that really wasn't a great combat rifle, but it was a great target rifle. You got other weapons that, weren't necessarily the best, but they also weren't the worst. They're just kind of mid-range. But without further ado, the rifle I would pick out of all the main rifles, like the Gewehr 98, the Lebel 1886-93, Carcano M1891, the Steyr M95, the Lee Enfield #1 Mark III, anything like that, would be the U.S. rifle model of 1917. So I know you're sitting there going, really? And then some of you were like, oh, hell yeah, I know what you're talking about. So there are several reasons. It's not just because I'm an American. If you think I just favor American stuff because I am American, you're wrong. I love European stuff. Most of what I sell in my shop is actually European because I like it better than U.S. surplus. So that being said, this is a British design. If you haven't seen my video on this, or anybody else's videos, this is a British design that was designed in 1914. The U.S. started manufacturing these rifles for the British that were chambered in .303, held 5 rounds in the integral box magazine. They're a cock on closing, that's right. Weapon, they're not anything like an Enfield, so they're not called the P14 Enfield, they just call it an Enfield because they assumed it was British, so Enfield, but it's not at all. Anyway, I already did that in a video, so I'll just stay off that subject. The reasons, plural, I would take this rifle, the model 1917, which is chambered in .30-06, so 7.62 by 63 millimeter. It's a rimless cartridge, okay? This rifle is a little bit heavier than a lot of other rifles, but it's not too bad. It just seems heavier because it's bulky. It's kind of big. It's a little bit longer than the 1903. And the one big advantage it has over the 1903 is the fact that it can hold 7 rounds with one in the tube. So you can fit 6 in the magazine and then 1 in the chamber, just for your starting of your fight. Or if you're on sentry duty, you get 2 extra rounds, or 1 extra round actually, because you can fit 6 in a 1903 with 1 in the chamber. You get an extra round, okay? It's a very smooth bolt, okay? It's not like, SMLE, smooth and fast, but it's a very smooth, if you manhandle this thing, it's gonna work every time. It's a really robust action. Very easy to use, very fast. If I weld this up, I still have to make a shooting video on this, I really do. But anyway, so there's that. You get 1 extra round in the magazine, which is actually a really big deal when you're talking back then. So you got 7 rounds, and the Lebel 1886-93 held 8, and the Enfield #1 Mark III held 10 or 11, depending on if you put one in the tube or not. The reason I don't like the #1 Mark III, the reason this beats out the #1 Mark III, because that'd probably be my second choice, is the sights, just straight up the sights. Even on the 1903, I don't like sights. I don't like long eye relief sights. I don't like having the rear sight up on the barrel itself and having that, very small radius, the sight radius. I like having a larger radius because you're going to be a little bit more accurate at long distances when you're lining this thing up. It's going to be less wobbly. I also like having a short eye relief. I like having the rear sight right in front of my eye because it naturally wants to just line up that front sight, and the front sight's actually extremely easy to use. It's got the 2 fins with the really thin blade front sight post. So it's a protected front sight. You don't have to have a separate piece. It's integral. The sights are like target sights that are combined with battle sights. So they're big enough to be battle sights, but they're also precise enough for you to hit something at a long distance. They do flip up for shorter distances, kind of like the 1903, but I think these are battle sighted for 300 or 350 yards, whereas the 1903 was 500. So basically, if you're going to use the battle sight at close range of the 1903, you have to aim down at the belt buckle of your enemy for it to actually hit their chest or neck or head or something. This thing, you aim at the belt buckle, you're going to get a center mass shot almost guaranteed. You aim a little bit up, you're going to get chest area where it's really effective. I like the sights personally. The ghost ring, the aperture sights, I'm a big fan of those. And the fact that they're bigger and they're not super precise, like on the 1903, that aperture is really small, makes it a lot easier to be used as a battle sight itself. So, that being said, another reason I would choose this over the SMLE is because I don't care how much you try to be careful with it. I don't care how much experience you have. With rimmed cartridges, just like with rimmed cartridges in an action like this, you run into a problem called rim lock. And although you can just jam the bolt forward, if you're in a rhythm and that happens and it doesn't work, that's going to cost you a couple seconds that you probably don't have in that situation. I just prefer rimless cartridges. I think that was a fantastic idea. Rimmed cartridges have their place, but they were outdated as soon as the rimless cartridges came out, and that's why I don't understand why people still used them. Like in the Lebel 1886-93, it doesn't affect it as much because the rounds aren't sitting in a box magazine. They're sitting in a tubular magazine, so they're all in line, and you can't really get rim lock from that particular configuration. However, on the SMLE you can, and I have before, and it really sucks if it's just right. You cannot get the bolt forward, and you got to mess with the rounds and stuff. And it doesn't matter how you load them on the clips because sometimes things just go wrong. So I do like rimless cartridges, which is another reason I like the 30-06. 30-06 is that's a pretty beefy cartridge. That's a man stopper for sure. The 8mm is also a man stopper. 8mm Lebel, the 303, they're all man stoppers, but the 30-06 has got some beef to it. It's a powerful little round. Yeah. So the sights. The sights are a big thing. The magazine capacity, the cartridge itself, and just the way it handles. I don't know how else to explain it. I like beefier rifles like this. Like French rifles are notoriously thin. And I don't know, I've never handled a FAMAS, but I've handled everything up until that. Even the 4956, the MAS 4956, is a very thin weapon. And I just like the feeling of having, a nice beefy stock. Even the SMLE is a little bit thinner than this. It's also a full stock, which I really appreciate. On the Gewehr 98, you get basically the whole top of the barrels exposed, so you got to clean that off. It just feels really, really good, and you can just sit here and plug stuff at 500, 600, even 1,000 yards at the iron sights, which I have, and I'll be making a video on this eventually, shooting it. But I think for all around in the First World War, this was probably one of the, if not the best rifles that were ever put on the field. And we used them, and the British used them in certain capacities. And there's a reason that these were used through the Second World War by our allies and by our units, actually. There were entire units that were, towards the end when we started running low on supplies, that were issued the 1917 rifle, and they worked great. They're fed from the same charger clip as the 1903, so the logistics are not a problem. You just give them the same ammo. You can, again, fit a couple more rounds in here, but if you're just shooting and loading fast, it handles the same. And yeah, it's just, I like the aesthetics too. It just looks like a really unique rifle. It's very, very neat, very classy looking. And there's a reason there's a bunch of these in the woods of the United States killing big game every year too. My old man hunted with a sporterized version of one of these for years and got a deer every single year. Just very accurate, very reliable. I just can't say enough good things about them. So again, I know a lot of you SMLE fanboys are going to be like, oh, well, you just don't know. Well, it's my opinion. The main reason I don't like the SMLE is the sights, honest to God. I find the sights extremely hard to use, just like I don't like the Gewehr 98 sights. They look cool, but if it's practical, that's one thing, but I have a hard time using V-notch sights. Same on the 1903, even with the front sight shroud. That's why I love the long eye relief of the pattern 17, which I don't think any other rifle, maybe I'm wrong, but most rifles in the First World War had a long eye relief rear sight up here, whereas this was pretty revolutionary and was a very short eye relief sight. So that's the main reason, honestly. The SMLE, I like the mag capacity. That's definitely a plus. But if you're talking 3 less rounds or 4 less rounds, actually, from your highest capacity rifle, that's not a bad thing if everything else is in your favor. So again, this is my opinion. This is what I would choose. You no need to get hostile if you disagree. I know that there's other rifles, and to each their own. If you're better with an SMLE and you love the sights and you're proficient as hell with it, by all means, that should have been your choice. The Lebel 1886-93, besides the reload, I am very comfortable with that rifle. It's a really nice handling rifle, very accurate, very easy to use. The sights are amazing. I just could not do the reload under stress, like the combat reload and handling loose cartridges and stuff. So that's why that doesn't play. So the Carcano M1891 would be and the Steyr M95 would be close thirds tied in there, seconds or thirds. But yeah, overall, we're gonna go with the model 1917. Again, not because I'm American, it's just because it's a British design. So all you guys in the UK, they're gonna be like, oh, you damn bloody Yank with your American pride, and you know, it's a British design, and it was a great design at that. So I'm giving you guys credit by doing this. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that and sat through the rant. Let me know what you think in the comments. Again, try to keep it civil. Like, this is a fun video. It's not like this is a fact. Like, this is what I would choose personally. You're going to be totally different than me, and it's a totally hypothetical situation, so it really doesn't matter anyway. But no, this is probably my favorite main battle rifle of the First World War, period, and that's why. It's just those very simple reasons, but those very simple reasons are very important if you're in a stressful situation, getting shot at and all that stuff. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Become a supporter on the Patreon, please. It really helps to fund stuff. I love making this series, like the World War I series, even though this video isn't in it. I really like doing things, but I just cannot afford to self-fund the channel anymore. I went broke doing it, and I'm paying off debt now. Not your fault by any means, but from here on out, I'm just going to be totally viewer funded, and Patreon's a great way for me to be interactive with you guys. I take votes. I put a poll out of what you guys want me to spend your donations on whenever we get to a threshold where it's like, okay, well, I have a couple items in mind. Props, helmets, uniforms from other different countries for the First World War series. Not really going to be buying guns because they're pretty expensive and stuff, but yeah, I do exclusive content on there or whatever, so please consider supporting me on there. It's $1 a month. If you do $5 a month or more, you get Discord access, which is pretty fun to be even more interactive with. But anyway, if not, I get it. Just I appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, let me know what you think, and you know, post up what you would choose and why. Maybe get some cool discussion going. All hypothetical, of course, because none of us were alive, or we can't go back there as of right now. Let's go to the mosencrate.com. He offers time machine rides for like $40, so you should check that out. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you on the next video.